the conflicts at the moment are geographically separated. But if we look at the relationships between the countries involved, we've got the developing axis of evil, as we describe it, between Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. I think there's a real potential that Pakistan could come into the axis of evil, and it wouldn't surprise me if we're seeing Pakistan supplying some capability to Russia. I think Russia will be trying to exploit that if they can, but Pakistan won't want to get rid of any of its military capability. It won't want to supply ammunition and tanks and all the rest of it because, on paper, and it's always dangerous comparing militaries on paper, as Russia found out whenever it carried out its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, because on paper it should have walked all over it, and it's been held back by a minnow. Pakistan won't want to get rid of any of its capability because on paper India is much stronger, and therefore Pakistan needs everything it's got to defend itself against the threat that's there. But I think we'll see closer relations building up, and they could come into this grouping that we're loosely referring to as the axis of evil, and it's worrying if that continues to grow. India-China relations are interesting. They're more than just they don't get on. They're fighting. They're fighting almost on a weekly basis. The disputed territories in the Himalayas, it's over a particular valley. There is physical fighting that goes on there a lot of the time. And when I say physical, it's not tanks on tanks or artillery on artillery. It's soldiers with fists and clubs attacking soldiers with fists and clubs. So they're doing it at base level, and some of it's quite horrific because the clubs and stuff they use have got nails hammered into them and all the rest, and therefore the casualties that come out of that can be quite nasty. Those tensions have been going on for years. So the India-China relations are not good. China will see an opportunity post any de-escalation of trying to build its relationship up with Pakistan. And the one thing that is coming out of the Russia-Ukraine war is that people are losing confidence in Russian military equipment and everything else. The Chinese will be looking for opportunities to sell and test Chinese military equipment in a battlefield situation, battlefield scenario. And therefore, China will be looking at trying to, I suspect, increase its relationships with Pakistan and potentially bring it closer into the fold. That would be useful if there is any Southeast Asian pivot when it comes to conflicts, if or when China decides to invade Taiwan, and having other areas where China could stimulate a refocus of Western attention, back to Pakistan, India, possibly North and South Korea, while China is focusing on Taiwan. China would love to do. It's within their playbook. It's the sort of tactics they'd use. Russia is relying on 60–80% of its ammunition coming from North Korea. It's relying on China for a large proportion of its technologies that it's putting into its military systems. China will be extracting a price for that, and it will be almost certainly buying big chunks of Russia where there are natural resources underneath them, because that's what China wants. So we've already got that link that's there from a political perspective and a political military perspective. We just don't have the geographic link between the different conflicts. Now, again, we look at the winner out of the conflict in the Middle East whenever Hamas attacked Israel over 2 years ago, and the horrific casualties and the taking of the hostages. The winner out of that was not Iran, it was not Hamas, it was not Israel, it was Vladimir Putin, because it took him off the front page headlines. And therefore, all of these are linked. And this is what people need to sit up and realize. The one thing we don't want to happen is the conflicts themselves to start to link, but there are indications to suggest that that could happen. We're a long way off it happening, but there's very real potential. And this is why I say that I'm concerned, because I can now see clear paths to there being a global conflict, and that would be these physical conflicts starting to join together, because we've got Europe, we've got the Middle East, we've now got India, Pakistan, and then we've got brewing tensions, which are Donald Trump's first priority in Southeast Asia, between China and Taiwan, but it's also China, Vietnam, China, the Philippines, China, Japan as well. So the tensions are growing fast, and it's a worrying time.